Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains the master of the deceptive arts, and I return to you once again as the dexterous voice of the Vasectomites. And today, I wanted us to look at the dimension of success in some length and with some depth. And I'd like to assert that in this world of success, people are easily divided into two very distinct categories: the effective and the ineffective, the capable and the incapable, the useful and the useless, or how you might describe them as the skilled versus the talented. As a person who is responsible for ensuring that others achieve certain outcomes, certain successes, certain results, right? And then simultaneously have to hold those people accountable for their failures and shortcomings. I am obviously on the side of effectiveness, of capability, as well as capacity, meaningful capacity, usefulness, and ultimately what I'm looking for in any circumstances is a professional. I want somebody who is well trained, qualified, experienced, and skilled, right? Compared, of course, to the alternative. But then you might ask yourself, how do you successfully and effectively distinguish between a skilled person and a talented person? And then how do you, after you've distinguished the two, how do you then choose which is the best option for you? This is not very difficult to do, right? This is not very difficult to do because ultimately what you'll see is that talented people pride themselves in performing tasks with speed, with flair, with what you might call the Midas touch, that instinct which allows them the power of alchemy, where everything they touch seemingly turns to gold, and I say seemingly. Whereas you might look at a person who might demonstrate what I've described. They might be very well trained, they might be very qualified, they might be very experienced. And what you will find with those people is that while they may perform quite speedily, they may get to the result, at least initially, in a slower, rigid, more methodical way, seemingly more obsessed and preoccupied with the minutiae of mundane details before arriving at exactly the same outcome that a more talented person or seemingly more talented person might get to at a faster rate. So, for one, the two people are described in a way that will create a preference for the talented, seemingly creative person rather than the systematic, methodical, and skilled operator. Right? So effectively, I've put the words in such a way where you might be inclined to go with a talented person rather than a skilled person. But in truth, skill and talent are words that are easily misunderstood and misconstrued because they are used very often interchangeably. So the one is used to describe the other, and the other is used to describe the one. In fact, in many situations, these words are used synonymously. In other words, they are used to not only describe one, but skill will be used to define talent, and talent will be used to define skill. Because this is simply because these words have a similar association, and they are associated with being able to accomplish a task impressively, right? They really do mean different things, however, right? So while they are both associated with being able to do things really well, they don't really mean the same thing. Talent is what I would describe, and you might find a different meaning. But talent, I would describe, is a natural aptitude, a natural inclination, and it has its roots in the association of an instinct to do something. And upon taking that action, the result thereby might seem impressive, not only because of the way that the result was achieved, but also because of the unorthodox looking nature of the result. So the results might seem better than expected, right? But this comes from this talent in itself, the instinct of talent comes from a combination of innate abilities, right, along with personal experience mixed up with social conditioning that may or may not, depending on the situation, result in the desired outcome. So you may very well get the outcome that you want. You may get a much better outcome, or you could possibly get an absolute catastrophe. And and this would be either due to chance, to coincidence, to divine intervention, or plausible deduction. That person's logical, plausible deduction based on a combination of things, they might therefore decide that the best outcome is A instead of B or C, and get that outcome right. So they may very well get to the outcome correctly by using this combination of things that are all, quite frankly, unreliable, right? Chance, unreliable. Coincidence, unreliable. Plausible deduction, divine intervention, all of them indicate unreliable outcomes. This is the problem that you get with very talented people. This is why entertainment industries are constantly replacing talented people, one talented person being replaced with another. Podcasters is the same thing. One talented podcaster will be replaced with another talented podcaster until that person becomes boring and repetitive. Skill, on the other hand, is simply the ability to do something very well. That's it. whatever it is that you can do, you may be athletic, you may be a great orator, a great teacher, you may be a wonderful accountant, but for the most part, whatever it is that you're doing, you do it very well and you do it at a high level consistently. A defining characteristic of a skillful person is being able to do something very well and be able to do it consistently and repetitively. While a talented person might be able to do something very well, there's very little chance that they're able to maintain that at a very high level, nor reproduce those results repetitively, consistently, and at will, right? So they won't be able to do the same thing again and again by simply being methodical and repeating the steps to success that they had taken before and repeating those steps again and again and again and again, thereby achieving the same results again and again and again, which is going to be success, right? A skillful person can do this over and over and over again at a very high level. A talented person has to be in every situation and all the time. They have to be extremely creative. They have to be a genius level type of creative in order to look at a certain circumstances that has nothing to do with each other and then be able to combine those things in a logical way as to come out to a meaningful outcome for a corporation, an organization, an individual, even a nation and a country. Very unlikely that this will happen over and over. It's very unlikely that you'll meet somebody who has genius luck. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about chance. I'm talking about fortune and luck. You can have fortune and luck with you 3, 4, 5 times. But the sixth time, it's going to fail. And once fortune and luck fails you, it continues to fail you if you continue to do the same thing that you've done. So if you continue to be creative, and now your process and method becomes creativity, eventually luck, chance, and misfortune are going to work against you at every time. You have to think about that, right? A talented person, right? You could offer or rather, they could offer you a different solution to the same problem every single time, and all you had to do was reword that solution, right? So, or that problem rather. So you could come to them and say that we have a problem in the country. And then you would say to them, we have a problem with the state. And then you could say, we have a problem with the nation. Country, independent sovereign state, and nation. These words mean the same thing. They literally refer to the exact same thing. But with a talented person, you could bring them the same problem, worded differently, and they would offer you a different solution. They would say something like, well, we need national defense for the country, we need economic stability for the state, and then we need unity for the nation. Not understanding that they are literally talking about the exact same thing. This is the problem with creative people. They don't know what they don't know. Another problem with talent is that most talents are based on each individual's instincts, inclination, and propensities for something specific. So you can't, so if one person is talented and another person is talented and another person is talented, what you're going to discover is that each of those people are talented at completely different things. So if you bring a skilled woodworker to come and work on a piece of wood, you're probably going to come out with an awesome piece of wood. If you bring another skilled woodworker to work on the same piece of wood with the same problem, you're going to get the exact outcome, an excellent piece of wood. But you can bring in three talented people, show them the same problem, and you're going to get three completely different outcomes. And of this, I can assure you. I've had a project where I had to, I don't know if you can call it renovate, restore. Restoration is what I'm talking about. It's not renovations. I had to do restorations on one of my apartments. And I got a reference to use a guy that said he was very talented, but he didn't come with official stuff, right? So he was referred to by somebody who knew somebody. So I used him, right? And I paid him, which was a colossal mistake, right? He made a complete mess of things. Really, so much of a mess that I had to go find a professional, um, with all of his credentials, licensing, experience, certification, business number, bank account, business bank account, not just a private bank account, but a business bank account, right? And not only did he come in and do the job faster, he did it better, and of course, he did it cheaper. But then another time I had to redo the same apartment. So it was like years later, maybe 3 or 4 years later, after a tenant or two had lived in there. I had to then, redo the apartment, the restorations once again. But I was working with a different real estate company, and they used completely different set of guys. Same result. Spectacular apartment every single time, right? Similar pricing, but same results, you know? So I can tell you that, in my opinion, both professionally and privately, working with skilled people is far superior than working with a talented person, particularly if you're looking for specific results. If you are looking for unknown results, yeah, good luck with that, right? Good luck with that. This was the problem with most entertainment and talent based industries, is that ultimately what they went for was for somebody who shined brightly with one way. And when people, or with one act, or people who could only play one character or do one type of role. And what they found was that unless you're making that type of movie or putting together that specific type of show, you could not use that person for anything, right? But whereas on the other hand, there are very many skilled, trained actors who are very diverse and can do all kinds of things. It's very hard to typecast those people, right? Because and even then, you have to ask yourself, what exactly are these talents, these inclinations, these instincts that people rave about when they say, "Oh, you're so talented"? What are they talking about? By definition, if something is instinctive, if you have an inclination to something, it must be in and of itself rudimentary, basic. In other words, it has to be basic. Whatever your talent is always going to be basic. Most so-called talented people, in my opinion, can demonstrate a high capacity for doing something, quite frankly, that is rudimentary, fundamental, and elementary in and of itself, in and of its description. In other words, it's something that almost anyone can do, right? It's like being a cashier. Anyone can do that job. Digging a hole, anyone can dig that hole. Some people might not have the strength or the power, so they'll have to take some time to do it, but anyone can dig a hole. Anyone can scan a bottle of water. Anyone can scan a bottle of water. It's quite rudimentary, if I have to say that. And I don't mean that in like a disrespectful way. I mean that in a way that I'm going to prove it. For most people, for most people, they are most the one skill that they are most capable of, right? It really boils down to one simple ability, one simple aptitude, one basic human facility is what they consider talent, and that is simply the ability to talk and to speak words, to have words come out of their mouth. Of this, I can assure you. For most people, their talents are limited at only being able to speak. Sure, there are those who can play musical instruments. You might say, well, there's those people who can play a musical instrument or yield weaponry. Okay, I will stop at those two things, right? But I wouldn't call those talents. I would call those skills. I think, I think if you stood in front of a piano, having never seen a piano in your life, and immediately started playing high level classical music, I would call that talent. But if somebody trains you, right, and then you become skilled, and then people say you are now talented because you are skilled, this is not the same thing. For you to be skilled in weaponry, in swordsmanship, you need to be able to pick up a sword for the very first time in your entire existence and feel the weight, and that weight just feels natural in your arm. As the sword moves, you have defensive maneuvers, you have offensive maneuvers, you have all the stances. Your body just moves in the way of a master swordsman who's been practicing and training for 20 years. That I would consider talent. So, but this is, I mean, so I beg your pardon. Yes, if you had done that for the very first time, I would consider that talent. But for most people to reach that level, that skill, it really requires either a tremendous amount of training or a tremendous amount of practice, right? Even the people who are very skilled dancers, right? Even the people who are like, they'll say, oh no, I'm a natural dancer. I'm not trained at an art school or an art academy or that kind of thing. Those people practice at home. So they didn't just stand up with their eyes closed and then the song played and then suddenly they can leap across the room and do splits and all kinds of things. No, no, no. They spend hours practicing privately, mimicking the moves of people that they believe they need to be better than or people that they need to equal, right? And all these are lovely skills, I have to admit. You know, playing an instrument, yielding a weapon, being able to dance, lovely skills, but ultimately incredibly useless in 2026. I mean, you know, you're gonna dance on the internet. Do you know how many people dance on the internet? Do you know how many people dance on the internet? Do you know how many people sing on the internet? Do you know that if you get like 10 million streams on the internet, it's not even like 10 million, I think it's like 100 million streams, you get like $40,000. If you think about it, it makes sense. 1 million streams is $4,000. You get 1 million streams a year, 1 million viewed hours, I beg your pardon. I think it's 1 million viewed hours or something. They'll give you $4,000 a year, right? So if you get like 100 million hours or something, that's only like $40,000 or something like that. I don't know what the numbers are. Like 10 million streams is like $40,000. I beg your pardon, not 100 million. 10 million streams is like $40,000. You know what I mean? So, you know, you could sing and dance all you want, but, you know, now you got to get up to 10 million hours of streaming. Just people watching you for 10 million hours dancing. I don't know how you're going to pull that off. But eventually, even those people, they stop singing, they stop dancing, and then they return to what is really, you know, for most people, their inherent productive talents, right? And for most people, that's going to be talking and effectively lying. right? As a student of the deceptive arts, you must know this, right? And also a vasectomite, by the way, freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. You think people aren't going to be lying to you in this world about anything? Anything from who they are, their religion, their level of faith, right down to who the father of the child is. They're going to lie to you every single day. So, what you need to do, you need to go ahead and freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Don't believe anything that people say. That's what people do all the time. They talk. All they do is talk. Just look at the world of people that are talking. Actors, when they get up on stage, there are those movies where the actors are meant to sing, but for the most part, the actors don't actually sing those parts. They just do voiceovers. Yes, maybe they do sing so they can keep track of the melody and whatnot, but then what they'll do is do a voiceover on them, right? So somebody will sing over that part. Someone who can actually sing will sing over. But for most actors, there's no singing, there's no dancing, there's no stunts, there's nothing. They just stand there and say the words that they've been told to say. It's so simple, even a child can do it. And most children do, right? From actors to news pundits who all they do is talk about what other people did today, what politicians, leaders. The politicians themselves, all they do is talk about the statistics, the country, the this, the that, the crime, the weather, the news. I don't know what these people talk about. Policy. All they do is talk. You ever listen to politicians in the Chamber of Commerce, in Parliament, or whatever? All they do is talk and talk and talk and talk, right? To sports commentary, that's all they do is talk. The athletes, they might do some running and so forth, but what you engage with most is what you see and what you hear. And what you see is the action, but you're not engaged with the action. Let's be honest, you're just watching, but you're not engaged at all. What you're engaged with is the commentary, the talking, right? Streamers, all they do is talk. Podcasters, all they do is talk. Influencers, all they do is talk. Radio personalities, actors, everyone that considers themselves talented in one way or another, they are all doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing now. Talking. This is what human beings consider a talent. If you're wondering, oh man, why is this guy so talented? Why is this guy so talented? All he does is talk. The difference between you and him, or me and him and you, is that he talks with the camera looking at his face. I talk with the camera away from my face, and you don't do no talking at all. But the talent is the same thing. We could be talking about the exact same topic. It's the same talent. You don't believe me? Think about it. Turn on the TV, turn on the radio, turn on your podcast. The only thing you're going to see is some head, some face, some body talking. Musicians are the most deceptive of all. They would have you believe that they are doing something other than talking. The singers, the rappers, the performers, they would have you believe that they are doing something other than talking. But that's not true. That's not true. Because in fact, all they do is talk, but in a rhythmic pattern. They talk to rhythm and they talk to rhyme, and all they do is add musical instruments behind it. And that is the true effect. But that's it. That's what singing is. It's literally talking to a rhythm. This is what people call talented, right? And people will come out here and tell you about how magnificent this show is because they are so talented. And then what they do is open their mouth and start yap, clucking away like chickens. And the same is with musicians, right? Eventually, you get tired of hearing their voice over, unless their voice is magnificent and they keep making songs. But eventually, what you start to hear are different patterns and different rhythms from songs that they've either done before or songs that somebody else has done before, because now they've run out of rhythms. Now they're repeating and recycling rhythms, which is the same thing as you talking about the same thing over and over again, like freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Now you might be saying, but ancient one, here you are saying the same thing every single day. What makes you talented, Ancient One? You coming out here talking every single day, putting out a video, and you say this is the most simplest, most mundane, most rudimentary thing any person can do, and I promise you it is. And I do it because it's just that easy. It's really the easiest thing that you have to do. The only thing that you have to be concerned about when you're doing this kind of thing is having dead air, which sometimes I might do so I can have my thoughts catch up to me. But for the most part, or I have to breathe, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm filling up the dead air. Even if I have to hit you with those ums and the ahs and the rights and the right? Even if I have to keep doing all that, I'm going to fill up the dead air. But I can continue. I can continue with confidence because if all the competition is just to talk, I can do that. I can compete. This is really the competition. People are going to say, well, who's got the best this and who's got the best that? It really comes down about who can talk the best and who has the best message. The one with the best message, and mine is very simply freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. You think you can beat that message? I'd love to hear you talk on the microphone, and let's see how it goes. Let's see how that goes. Let's see your message. Let's see if your message can beat mine, the freeze sperm and get a vasectomy. But this is what we're doing. We are competing about who can talk the most and who can talk the best. But now you have to understand that most people, unlike myself, are not thieves of information. You guys are out here trying to steal money and not steal information. And eventually, what's going to happen is you're all going to run out of topics to discuss. You haven't even come to the point where you can discuss what talent is. You're really going to run out of things to discuss. How many things about relationships can you talk about? How many times can you talk about child support? How many times can you talk about divorce and alimony and breakups and breakups? Oh, she's cheating. Oh, she's cheating. Oh, she's cheating. My friend, they're all cheating. How many women are you going to discover from being of cheating before you find out, wait a minute, they're all cheating? It's getting kind of boring. Talk about something else. I dare you. Talk about something else. Because what's happening is people are becoming very repetitive. And repetitive content can become very monotonous. And anything monotonous is going to be boring. You're trying to be entertaining. You're trying to be funny. You're trying to be cool. You're trying to be talented when all you're actually doing is just talking. The best thing you could do is be what I did. Be what I am and do what I do is just to be informative. Give people their information and let them make up their own opinions about it. Tomorrow, come back with a new piece of information. See, as a thief of information, I will never run out of things to talk about. I will talk about things that I know nothing about. I will talk about things that I actually want to learn about and say, you know what, I come here to learn something. I got an article that I want to read about something that I actually want to look into. Let's do it together. I'm a thief of information, which means I am a dark well, a dark black hole that consumes information. I don't care if I read something and forget it. I just want to read it and have that information. And then I'll decide if that information is worth forgetting or worth remembering. But I'll never run out of content. Sometimes you watch people and you realize that they are at a point in their journey of content where there's really no point in watching them anymore. And they're saying the same thing over and over, but it's not kind of the same way. It's not like me who was saying, go freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, because I know you still haven't gotten your vasectomy. And I know you're still thinking about it. But not only that, a vasectomy is interesting. It's not just interesting to people around you, but it's interesting to yourself. Do you know what it means to get a vasectomy truly? What it truly means to end the bloodline here with you. Before you, there were many. After you, there will be none. You are now the one. You are the one. People aren't ready for that type of pressure. What they're ready to do is to live their life, and if it fails, to pass on the responsibility of success to the next generation. But they're not willing to take it all on their own. We can talk about a vasectomy in depth, what it means to give up your ability to create life, all so that you can live your own life. A life for a life. It's a real sacrifice, and the stakes, they couldn't be higher. We're talking about the ultimate gamble of humanity here. The ultimate gamble of humanity. There's never a moment where a vasectomy is not interesting. If you don't believe me, go tell your mama you want a vasectomy. Go tell your mother that you don't want no more kids. This is the end of the bloodline. And watch her face fall with disappointment in realizing that you are it. You are the best that there will ever be. Because she was hoping to kind of have one that skipped a generation. Because you didn't skip the generation. You got the family curse head on. And now she's going to realize that, this is the end of the road for us. You think this is a joke? Go tell your wife you want a vasectomy. Go tell your girlfriend you want a vasectomy. Go start a conversation about a vasectomy at work and see what happens. It's always going to be exciting. But baby mama cheats, woman gets pregnant. Do you know how many women get pregnant, man? Do you know how many women get pregnant? 99% of the world, men are going to have kids by the time they're 60. Over 85% of women are going to have kids by the time they're in their 50s. This is literally the whole world. You're seriously covering something that happens to every person in the world. Somebody gets pregnant. Everybody gets pregnant, man. You know what I mean? Not the men, obviously, but I'm saying the women that are intimate, they're all going to get pregnant. You're covering this like it's news. Woman gets pregnant from intimacy. Really? Oh, you must have been up all night trying to figure out how you're going to sell that story. Breaking news, woman gets pregnant. Give me a break. Give me a break. Because you're not a thief of ideas, you wouldn't be able to talk about talent in a meaningful way, thereby exposing your own talent. You don't even know what talent is. We're here talking every day. And you're going to say, well, somebody's a talented podcaster. You mean they came on the internet and talked? They came on the internet and talked. This is the credit you're giving them for? The bar is low. The bar for talent and skill is so low that you are willing to give credit for somebody coming on the internet to talk about something, the same thing, every single day. The same thing that not only everybody else talks about, but everybody does. Woman gets pregnant. Give me a break. Sometimes you watch people and you realize there's just no point in watching them. There's just no point in listening to what they say. Then you wonder why they say anything at all. Why are you even out here talking if you're just going to be like boring, 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 right? This is for two reasons. One, they have no skills. They don't have nothing that they do very well, so they have no corporate skills. They're not going to be CEO by 34, right? They're not going to be CEO by 34, right? Going to get married by 32, be CEO by 34. No way, no way. So they don't really have no desirable skills, right? So You think about like people who are playing in the NBA. You know the entire NBA roster. You look at all the teams, all the coaches, all the managers, all the sports stars, all I beg your pardon, all the medical staff, training staff, management, owners. You look at all the substitutes on the bench. You take the entire league, NFL league, NBA league, any sports league, that particular league, you're looking at like 1,000 people per league. You look at the NBA with everyone that's involved in running that thing, the drivers, the pilots, the air hostesses, everyone, cheerleaders. Really, you're not getting more than 2,000 people for the entire league. For the entire league. Just think about that. Just think about that. So, if you had a tremendous talent that you're in like the top 1,000 in the world, right, you would be there. But beyond that, no, they have no talent. They have no talent. So they have to rely, rather they have no skill, they have no discernible skill, which is, the ability to do something very well at a high level. So they have to rely on talent. And then they have to rely on their most rudimentary talent, which is their ability to talk, which is only that, right? And mind you, many of them are talking, pretending to sell a product which they are not really selling, right? And if I came out here and started selling a product, guys, please buy my t-shirts, guys, please buy my sunglasses, please buy my cologne, knowing full well that I'm going to put out a video that's only going to get 50 views. And none of those people are going to buy it, right? So it's very clear that they're not selling a product. They're not being informative. So on the one end, you're not being informative. You're not a thief of information. You don't have much to disseminate. You don't have a new perspective or any interesting topics to talk about. It's going to be the same thing every day, right? So you're not selling a product. You're not being informative. So what are you doing? What they're doing is they're selling themselves, obviously. The counterparts are selling themselves so that they can attract more benders, but also more successful benders. So people will see her on the podcast, which is a very cheap thing to do. I'm making one now for free. I'm making a video now for absolutely for free. I didn't pay not a single thing to make this video other than some time, right? So effectively, they'll put themselves out to be seen by as many people as they can. So yes, they do get attention, but that attention is only beneficial, for instance, if you're a counterpart, if you can get a knee bender, a rich knee bender who saw you online, wants to have an association with somebody famous and is willing to pay money for that, right? And the knee benders, well, they don't want the highest counterpart possible, right? They don't need a rich counterpart giving them problems. They want to be the one at the advantageous position. So what they want is really an abundance of counterparts who want them or who want to be associated with them for their fame. Both these people are very much selling themselves. They're not selling a product. They're not being informative. They're talking about a really ridiculous topic. Women get pregnant. Women cheat. Relationships fall apart. Why are people not getting married? Why are people not getting married? Are you being serious? You're going to make a topic about why are men staying away from marriage? What? You mean other than divorce, alimony, child support, lawyer fees, losing your car, losing your house, losing your home, your livelihood, your family, your peace of mind, your pension, your assets, your resources, your salary? You mean other than that? Other than your wife cheating on you while you still have to pay bills for her, right? And then she's gonna kick you out and move in her boyfriend who you still gotta pay to feed. You might as well make him your third child, your fourth child, or whatever, how many kids you have. You mean other than that? Other than this ridiculous, mundane reason that everybody knows by now, right? This is what you gotta talk about that. Other than that, no, there's no reason not to get married. It's gonna work out just fine, right? Seriously. All you're doing is you're selling yourself. But you're not even selling the best part of yourself. You're not even being informative. You're not funny. You're not entertaining. Right? It's like there are some people you see them, man, saying the same thing over and over again. Oh, baby mama goes wild. And it's like, we can tell that you're tired of this. We can tell that you're tired of this. You get a few clicks. People aren't even watching the whole show anymore because they know that your next sentence is not going to be better than your previous sentence. You're not going to tie this whole thing up in a way that makes us think, damn, the ancient one had another insightful insight. I never realized that all these people that call themselves talented, all they do is just talk. I could never bring it up from a political speech to a football commentator to a political pundit to the news themselves, the radio, the podcast. They all do the same rudimentary nonsense and call it talent. But here I've exposed it to you. Now you can go watch a video about somebody that told you that a woman got pregnant. Can you imagine? You know, Also, these people can gain access to intimacy, by the way. That's all this is about. Because you're not making no money off the internet, right? You need 10 million views to get $40,000 a year. 10 million views. I mean, you might as well go for the super chats and the contributions, because there's no way you're getting 10 million views. I mean, the top guys can put out 20,000 views a day. And I think like if you're getting 20,000 views per video a year, that's like 600,000. I don't know how much that is, but I don't know if it's like 10 million. You're not making $50,000 from this, right? You have to be doing this because you have a real message and you've got a real plan. Or you have a way that you can say to people, okay, can you contribute in this way? But effectively, the only benefit is going to be intimacy. Intimacy for the knee bender, because women like to be associated with famous people, famous streamers. It's going to work. It's absolutely going to work for you. Go ahead and start a channel if you want to get somebody pregnant and be on child support for 18 years and 21 years of child raising. Of this, I guarantee you. I guarantee it. Right? The counterpart, she wants to attract the most successful man possible. So she knows that there are men out there who look at famous women just for their fame and think, okay, this woman is of a higher value. When in fact, you're just getting the same deal, just at a higher price tag. Right? It's the same deal with a higher price tag. She wants to be taken at a higher price tag, right? But but then you circle around, right? And then you realize, it's the same topic over and over and over again. The same perspective over and over and over again. The same mundane solution: get your money, get your muscles, get your mental health, over and over and over again. And it's going to end you in the same place: child support, alimony, lawyer fees. You know the drill. You know the drill. I mean, you know it better than me. You're actually living it. And you got all your information from these so called talented people. You get all your information from these people who are telling you this nonsense: get your money, get your muscles, get your mental health, and then get yourself a woman, right? They're telling you all this nonsense because this is what gets the clicks. This is what gets the views, right? Woman is pregnant. This is what gets the views, right? Because everybody wants to know how she got pregnant. Seriously, how do you think she got pregnant? She went bungee jumping. And by the time she landed, she was pregnant. Give me a break. Give me a break. You know what I mean? These are the type of issues that you're going to face. Just going around and around and around in circles. The news media would at least cover like updates in developing stories, but even they got mundane and boring. You know? But it's like, can't you just read an article every day? If you are finding yourself in a situation where you're really running out of topics, you could just pick up an article and discuss that topic. Hey, I read this in the paper today. Oh, I found this topic today. Oh, here's something that we can tie to here. And I don't mean like, it's like me discussing a secret vasectomy every day, right? There's a point where they're like, really? You're going to talk about another secret vasectomy? And while the secret vasectomy videos get a lot of views, not everybody wants to hear about a secret vasectomy. I mean, I do, but not every day. There are other things that we can bring together and tie to this issue that can make for a better viewing experience, listening experience, you know? And think about it. I mean, what's an article a day? Right? There were some people when I was still doing social media, not YouTube, but other stuff. The Instagram, the Facebook, all the ones that killed me and kicked me off, and I don't want to give them credit until they let me back in, which they won't do. But effectively, to come on here, I decided that I could just easily read an article a day on any topic, from medical to politics to business to healthcare to child raising. I did a video about decorating teenage girls' dorm rooms and the cost of that. And that video got a fair amount of views, by the way. You know what I mean? It indicates diversity. Even if you're reading one article a day, that's all you're going to do, by the way. So don't act like, oh, I'm not going to read an article that's boring, because all you're going to do is come here and talk. At least you have something to talk about instead of just talking about nothing. Don't pretend you're going to do anything more than talk. Don't pretend that you are entertaining when all you're doing is just talking. And people are just going to play you the way they play me, as background noise. Yes, I know I'm background noise. I'm 2 hours of background noise, or an hour or so worth of background noise. And I'm okay with that. But this means that 365 articles that you can read in a year, which is absolutely nothing. I can go through 4, 5 to 10 articles just trying to pick one for the day. But if you're reading one article a day, in 10 years, that's 3,650 articles. 3,650 articles in a decade, which is absolutely nothing. You can read that in less than a year. Seriously, you can do, like, if you're doing 10 articles a day, you can do 300 articles a month. You can absolutely do 3,000 articles in a year. No problem. In fact, you can have an entire channel where all you do is you read articles. And I have such a channel. And I'm not out here pretending to be more talented or more gifted or more skilled than other people. I'm just saying that you aren't as talented as what you claim to be. Not only that, you're not nearly skilled. And this is really the issue. This is why they're not reading articles, because then it's going to expose their lack of reading skills. Right? If you were able to read, you just go on there and just read the article and make your video after video, just killing it. But no, up to 3,650 articles in a day. Why couldn't you sustain that? I mean, surely I can sustain that. Surely I can sustain a new, fresh, dynamic perspective every single day, every single video. Something new that you never thought about is going to be discussed. Right? And then you never run out of topic. And even like if there's like 10 points which we're going to discuss today about talented people and the skills that they have, right? Each one of those could be a video all on its own. I could make 10 videos just based on the information of one video. So why are people just like, if all you're going to be doing is talking, then why say the same thing every day? How much talent do you need to come online and say absolutely nothing? Not much, in my opinion. I suppose I might as well practice one of my own useless talents, which is the talent of being able to read in a monotonous and never-changing voice. I really tried to read changing like my tone with emphasis, but when you're reading live, it's very difficult to know when the emphasis is. Even if you've read it before, you just sort of read it for the details. But again, I'm really not trying to be out here demonstrating talent and skill, right? Or being entertaining and funny. I know I'm not gonna pull that off. I know that most of the time when you're laughing at me, right? I'm not that kind of funny person. But I can be informative and I can give you a lot of information, even information that doesn't even belong to me. Because, like I said, like there are times when I talk about things that I know absolutely nothing about and I'm learning as I'm going through, right? And so are you. It's content, man, but it's meaningful content, right? It's not just an empty vessel, But maybe tomorrow I'll just make a video about a pregnant woman. Maybe I'll get a few more views, and demonstrate some rudimentary, fundamental, basic human skills. It says 10 skills most successful people have. And this comes from Women on Top. I thought that there would be a lot to unpack in that website name. They didn't credit any specific writer, but I thought it would be incumbent on me to say that this absolutely comes from Women on Top. Yes, I think they mean women power, of which I could care less about. I don't care who's in power. Men, women, cats, dogs, butterflies. It makes no difference to me. None of you are telling me what to do. Ever. Ever. The website is womenontop.com. And of course, the link to the article is linked right there if you want to read it yourself. There is some additional information, but that information is literally repetitive. All they do is repeat the title 3 times. So it's like 10 skills most successful, talented people have, and then they repeat that again and again and again. Another thing you want to notice here is you see how the words skills and talent are used intertwined. They want you to they want you to think that a skilled person can be a talented person can be a skilled person, and that there's no differentiation between them. And of course, we've managed to find a clear distinction, right, between talent and skill. Talent being something that is instinctive to you, but you can still perform using creativity and unreliable outcomes, whereas skill is consistent, reliable, and is the ability to do something at a very high level consistently. The first talent is talented people talk about their long term goals. No, no, no. We are the practitioners of the deceptive arts. We don't tell anyone our goals. But I would say that talented people have long term goals, right? But have a bigger goal, a bigger picture, right? A larger move to make after a smaller combination of moves. But telling people your goals, a very big mistake. Talented people are not afraid of the future or their future. Everyone's afraid of the future. They are excited at all times about their career, business, and what's in store. And they're also scared that career could end, right? So I'm a person who's very optimistic about my future because I have no choice but to be, but I also try to be very cautious. I've won and lost so much in life that I'm just going to stick with my savings, man. I'd much rather just stick with the money that I make and can save rather than trusting another person to make me rich through investments. So, there's one thing to be enthusiastic and excited about things, but I would suggest caution. I would absolutely suggest caution when it comes to long term goals, especially long term goals. If you have a long term goal and you're hoping that you're not going to get somebody pregnant along the way, I'm here to tell you that you're terribly mistaken. I'm here to tell you that the chances of you achieving your long term goal without a child is going to be zero. You're not going to do that. So, whatever long term goals that you have, prepare to be burdened with childcare, maybe even child support, while you've tried and failed to achieve your long-term goals. However, should you get a vasectomy before that? Should you freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy before that? Your long term goals may, quite frankly, be a matter of time. The outcomes would be guaranteed based on the work that you do, but the outcome and the result would also be guaranteed on the fact that you're not going to mess things up for yourself and for other people. When you ask talented people about their goals during a job interview, they will talk about their prospective future and what they plan to accomplish. When people ask you about your future goals in life, it's always better to have future goals that are aligned with the company. I'm hoping to be stable, to grow with this company, and hopefully climb, the ladder. I know it's gonna take time and be difficult, but I'm here to work. I've come here to work and put in that work. Talented people, number two, are also resourceful and prepared for anything. Sure. This is what I was telling you about talented people, right? They have to be prepared for every situation, to be creative in every situation, to sort of resolve issues on the spot willy nilly. You know what I mean? They're not talented people are not systematic, which means ultimately, no matter how good their performance is on the day, you have to take it for what it is. Really a once off, a shot in the dark, a fluke. That's really how I look at talented people. It's like one fluke after another. Never any reliable, stable, consistent outcomes from talented people. That's why a talented person will come in from nowhere, out of the streets, have a just astronomical career in sports and entertainment, and then phase out in 5 years and have nothing to show for that. You ever seen that situation where somebody's so talented, so gifted, so capable, being given every opportunity to succeed, and then you find out that you know what, they are wallowing in debt and in misery and all kinds of things, and you'll say, but you know what, nobody made more money than you. Nobody made more money than you while you were on top. What happened? They were talented, and then they were talented, and then they were talented, and then what happened was they couldn't repeat the process of success over and over and over again. They weren't systematic, they weren't methodical. So they tried to use talent in the courtroom. They tried to use talent in the boardroom. They tried to use talent against the corporation, and they got crushed by procedure, methodology, rules, bylaws, contracts. They were completely undone by the process and the machine, and they thought they could be creative with bylaws. Get out of here, man. Give me a break. The best lawyers in the world write those documents. If those documents could not stand in court, they wouldn't have written them. If those documents could not stand up against the constitution and the entire full legal system, they would have not typed out one single word on that document. Just think about that before you go up against the corporation with your talent. Someone who is talented will always be prepared for any situation until they're not. Right? So you're always trying to be prepared for every type of situation, which is impossible, which is absolutely impossible. You're going to be stretched thin trying to figure out what everybody's trying to do all the time. Not everyone has the ability to think and act on the spot. There you go. What did I tell you about these talented people? They're just making it up as they go along. Really, that's what you're seeing. And that's what you're seeing with a lot of content creators. They just come online, start talking, and then soon you realize, nah, man, they're not actually saying anything. And then they just go back to the usual that they know. Oh, well, I got nothing further to say. Let me just go back to the usual. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Like, really? That doesn't even go with the thing that you're talking about. You just threw that in there. You just said freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Like every situation, it will be get money, get muscles, get your mental health, get a new woman. It's the solution to every problem. But it's not really a solution. Whereas I have a solution to every problem: freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. But it actually is a solution. And I'm not being creative. You know what I mean? It's a method, it's a system, and it works every time. These people, you're not going to get that, right? You're not going to get that. It says they know their resume inside out. They answer every question during an interview without stumbling over their thoughts. An attitude of resourcefulness inspires out of the box thinking. Oh boy. The generation of new ideas. Oh boy. And the ability to visualize all the possible ways to achieve what you desire. Oh my God, this sounds like catastrophe. This sounds like absolute catastrophe. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, seriously. Okay, first of all, if you don't know your resume, if you don't know your curriculum vitae inside out, that means you didn't type your own CV. Because everybody knows their CV inside out. But also, it's problematic because you can't remember where you worked. You worked at a job for 2 years, you don't remember. I remember jobs where I got fired on the first day, where the leader realized that I was the leader, and then he fired me, and then I realized that he was the leader on the first day. I still remember that job. You telling me you can't remember where you worked? How could you not remember your CV? This is what I'm talking about, man. How the hell can you not remember your CV? To the point where you can't answer questions about your own work history. You have to start thinking about the out the box. Just think about that. You're about to hire this person who knows nothing about their own CV, and then now they start thinking outside of the box. No. Now they start coming up with new ideas. We're talking about your work history. There's no new ideas. It's just what happened in the past. How can there be a new idea about what happened in the past? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not one for these talented people, right? Resourcefulness turns you into a scrappy, inventive, enterprising entrepreneur. Listen to that. Is that what you want to deal with? Somebody who is scrappy, inventive on the job, doesn't know what they're doing, so they're going to invent something. Now imagine this. You've just paid this person for a product, and instead of giving you the product that you wanted, they are going to go and invent something. Every time I've given money to a creative person to create something, that money has always been a loss. Like the product was a catastrophe. I had nothing, there's nothing else to do except throw it away. And then I had to go hire somebody to do the thing that I wanted to do properly. Every single time, without fail. I've never had a creative person do anything meaningful for me in my life. Anything meaningful for me in my life. Not a single thing. Not a single thing. If they don't have a process and a means to achieve that process step by step in a reliable way, then what they're selling you is a dream. Even the people who are screaming bachelor for life. It's nonsense. You're not going to be a bachelor for life. You're either going to get married and bend the knee and have kids and bend the knee, or you're going to be a vasectomite. This is the reality of it. And I'm talking as somebody who lived an entire life as a bachelor. You cannot sustain it. You are constantly living in fear of getting somebody pregnant and inseminated, which obviously you will do. Right? This is not what you need. An enterprising, scrappy person. Absolutely not. You need a reliable, workable system that will work every single time for every single person and achieve great results. This is what you can rely on, not talent. Talent is going to fail you. What happens if that scrappiness doesn't work? What happens if that enterprising spirit doesn't deliver? What happens if your invention flops? Then you got to go back to what works. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. It places you at a cut above the rest. It can. Being very talented can put you one step above others for a very short period of time, And then after that comes the inevitable collapse. Think of all the talented people that you know and how their lives and careers collapsed when their talent failed them, either through age, through misfortune, or simply being discovered that you're not actually talented. All you did was just talk on a podcast. Number three, talented people show confidence no matter what. This is the problem with talented people. They are not level headed. I told you that what they do is they want to achieve things with speed, with flair, with bravado, with charm, and then say that I'm the best because I got there first. It's the same thing that what the rappers do. I'm the first one to do this, therefore I'm the best. No, that's not entirely true. You could be the first one to do something and you could be an abject failure at it while people come in behind you and achieve tremendous success, right? It's the bravado that tells you, no, this person doesn't know what they're doing. A person who's focused on details is always going to be more quiet, more steady, more logical. And then what they'll do is they won't take credit for it, for what they've done, because the credit doesn't really go to them. The credit goes to the method and the system. Whereas these inevitable, predictable failures, the talented people, they have to take credit for the thing themselves because it was literally them that had to invent the solution and apply that solution right now. They're making it up as they go along. Confident people can handle every situation no matter what. This is not true. You could be confident and fail. There are so many people that are confident and fail because their confidence is not really based on anything. It's just based on hope, right? Nothing else. So they think they can handle any situation, but really, if it was that simple, every confident person would be rich, right? Because there are a ton of confident people that have nothing except their confidence. They accept the reality that it's okay to be wrong sometimes. You see the problem. You see now the problem. Now I have talent, but I made a mistake. I was wrong. I lost the company $10 million. But it's okay to be wrong sometimes. No. Stick to the process, man. Stick to the process that leads to success, not the process that makes you feel like it's okay to be wrong sometimes. Because those mistakes, they can end lives or end companies and end careers, right? It's one thing to make a calculation be wrong in that calculation, but now when you're being creative about every single aspect of life, and then when you get things wrong, eventually you get things wrong, which is what I predicted. Eventually you're going to get the things wrong. It's one thing if the process fails, but it's another when the individual fails. When the process fails, you can change the process. When the individual fails, you got to change the individual. See the problem with that? This is the problem with talent. Eventually, you're just putting yourself out there to get taken out. When you ask them about their weakness, they will speak out loud and explain everything and what they have learned. Did you know there's a quick fix for self-doubt? If the way you feel influences how you act, then why can't the way you act influence how you feel? You can literally fake it till you make it. What did I tell you about these people? What did I tell you about these people? Fake, fake, fake. It's all a fluke. It's all a fluke. And you can tell by the way their careers just collapse. And you'll be standing there being like, listen, man, do what you did before. Save your career. And he can't. Because it was all fake. They faked it, then they made it and kept faking it. And then people stopped believing the fake. People stopped believing the scam. People saw through the fact that you're just saying the same thing over and over again. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, but you're adding no nuance to it. Right? You're not adding it to what is a deeper discussion. Right? Listen, I'm dissing my own points because I know I'm repetitive as you are. but at least I know I'm repetitive. Whereas you're doing it hoping that it sounds new every time. But I'm doing it hoping that it becomes familiar. And familiar becomes the norm. That's why I'm here. To make the vasectomy, the discussion about having a vasectomy, the norm in standard contraception practice for men. So yeah, I'm gonna say free sperm, get a vasectomy every day. But you're talking about a pregnant woman. Lovely. 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 Please, what trimester is she in? Inform us. Inform us, you fakes. All you talented people are faking it, hoping that you make it. And this proves it. No skill, no methodology, no education, no qualifications, no training, no experience. Just talent. Fake. A fake. Number 4, talented people market their versatility. Oh, yes, versatility. I can do so many different things in so many fields equally. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. You're just putting that out there because you have no choice. You have to function everywhere all the time because you don't have a place where you can anchor that success. Eventually, you're going to lose it. Your talent is nothing, nothing compared to a skilled operator who knows what they're doing, compared to an educated, qualified, experienced professional. Talent. Let's go. Versatility, they say. Ask a talented person about their struggles, where they had to try something new or apply their skill. You see, there they go. They want to use talent and skill together. In an unusual situation, a talented person will be able to share an experience or two, or more than an experience or two. Almost every area of their life has been a struggle, and every solution to them has come as something new. Even things that skilled, educated professionals know to work, to them will always be something new. This is the problem. Think about what you're saying here. You are going to trust your company to somebody who is looking at the running of your company as something new. You're going to trust your product to somebody who sees your product, the selling, or rather the process of selling a product, as something new. You're going to market your product with somebody who sees the process of marketing as something new. Everything is always something new to these people. This is a problem. This is an indication of inconsistencies. And if everything is new every time, eventually they're going to get things wrong because they're faking it. And when they get things wrong, you are going to have a calamity on your hand. This is why people will quit their jobs to go be social media content creators thinking they're oh so funny and then be homeless. So you go from making content, at home all the time to making content in your car, and you still don't get it. You think you're so cool. You think you're so talented until you're homeless. But you still don't want to get a job because you're a content creator, you're a creative. No, you have no talent, man. Your only talent is to talk, and everyone is talking. People go to work all day, come back, sit on the internet and talk. I'm doing it right now. But I cannot expect that me blabbering on and on and on and on and on, calling it a talent, and then asking people to sacrifice their hard-earned money so that I can sit here and talk about absolutely nothing and then chastise them for not paying me. All you're doing is you're talking. You want me to pay you to talk. You want me to give you my hard-earned money to pay you so you can talk. Give me a break. Give me a break. I have a counterpart here and I'll pay her to stop talking. Just think about that. People will pay you just to stop talking, and you're demanding that they pay you to talk. Let me give you a situation here. If you stopped making videos today, do you think people would go around looking for you demanding that you return? Or would they just move on to watch somebody else. This is the value of your talent, of which, quite frankly, is no talent at all. Talented people prioritize results. This is not true. Well, in a way, it is. They prioritize the outcomes of things, but not the process that leads to those outcomes. So, what you'll find is you'll hear a talented a person or a person who depends on talent, right? I'm going to say a person who depends on talent and a person who depends on skill. A person who depends on talent will want to get to the result as quickly as possible the first time around. Then what you want is for them to get to that same result again, and they cannot. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Academically, right? I can give a business example, but I think academics and sports are really good examples of life and this dynamic of the romance wars that we're discussing, especially with these benders and counterparts. I think everybody can relate to academic examples. Beginner's luck. You come into school on the first day of school, right? So let's say you transfer like halfway through the first semester or something, and you arrive like, on the first day of school, you settled in your dorm or whatever at university. And on that first day when you arrive, your lecturer gives you a quiz. Everybody else knew that there was going to be a quiz on this day except you. You just arrived, you just met these people. And the professor doesn't care, right? He gives you the quiz anyway in one of your tutorials, right? In your tuts. So you you then write this test on a whim, but you know the information, it's your course, you're not coming in empty handed, but you can deduce things and you nail it. You get a 95% A plus for this test, right? Now you're not going to pull that off again, especially if you're coming in from your previous school being like a C or a D student, right? This was a fluke, this was beginners luck, this was adrenaline, it was a combination of things, right? That happened to work in your favor. Now, the other students, they may get like 90% or 85% and so forth. But they've been nailing 85s and 90% all the way through. Whereas you just came in on the A plus. Now you're sitting on the A plus average with one test. But on the second test, you're gonna collapse. For sure, you're gonna go back to what you used to do. Because what's happening now is the environment has now stabilized for you. Because before you didn't know anyone, you didn't have any friends, you didn't have any distractions, you didn't have anybody asking you for things, and you didn't have anything that you need. You just came in, didn't know anyone, and had to sit there quietly and focus and do what you were told. 2 weeks later, on that next test, you now got friends, you probably got a new girlfriend, your dorm room needs to get cleaned, your laundry starting to pile up, reality is setting in. They give you another test, and you're back down to a C or a D. Now that A plus average is now a B minus. You see how that works? Whereas everybody else who's been systematic and methodical all the way through, they're still maintaining their A minus and their B plus. But now you're down to a B minus, and you're eventually going to fall down to a C, and that's where your level is. This is the problem with creative people. It's happening on the spot. And on the spot, you cannot tell the circumstances around it. So the results look good, but the results are not transferable. They are not consistent. They don't work every single day with every single test. Whereas that B minus and that A minus and that B plus student, he's gonna pull off that B all the way through to the finals. And you're gonna be lucky to get out with a D plus. You're really gonna be lucky, or a C minus. You're gonna be lucky to come out with a C minus. You're not getting a B plus for nothing. Your results as a talented person are always gonna be suspect and short-lived. I promise you that. No other people than talented people care about results. This is not true. They have a drive and passion for accomplishing their goal quickly and making dreams come true. You see, there you go, right there. It's all about dreams, wishes, manifestation. You know, I want to live the dream, so I become an entertainer. Now I'm flying all over the world for 6 years, right? What about the other, I don't know, 75? What about the other 74 years? No flying then? Right? I myself have been flying around the world, as you know, for decades. But not only that, I've got decades more. Can really you say that as an entertainer with no career? Because you wanted to be creative, I'm informative. Let's see who can sustain this. Let's see who can sustain. I can sustain giving out information every single day with not a single smile on my face. Can you sustain laughter? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, just making people laugh. Different joke every single day. I think not. I think not. I think those dreams are gonna come true and then fade. A dream is like blowing up a bubble. Eventually, you put in too much gas and it blows up, or you just don't have the air enough to keep blowing and blowing and blowing and sustaining it. They eliminate whatever does not add to their goal. This is now the reading, and whatever takes away their energy from achieving this. This is also true. So they will cut out a lot of the things that you need. You know what? Do you know what talented people are like? Talented people are the kind of people who will build a house with no foundation. Because they'll say, well, why do I need a foundation? When the house is above the ground and not below the ground. Right? That's what a talented person are. They are a house with no foundation. It looks good until a storm comes. It looks good until it starts to rain and the ground underneath starts sinking. Right? It all sounds very good. Well, I was able to build a house oh so quickly, and you spent a week, digging a hole, putting in the cement, and waiting for that foundation to dry. I finished a week before you. I'm smart. I'm talented. I got the result anyway. And that's not true. You just destroyed that house and wasted $500,000. Six talented people ask smart questions. That's not true. This is not true at all. Smart, talented people will ask questions that are out of the box, but not because they want to take the conversation to the next level, but because they think by saying something different they're adding to the conversation, right? So corporate might decide that we are moving out of low cost housing and we're moving into more robust housing in gated communities and complexes and such, right? And then you might come in and say, no, why don't we just buy bigger buildings and fill in more apartments with low income people, and then they will pay more in the end. When ultimately what's going to happen is you'll invest a lot more money in low cost housing and you'll have a lot more people not paying rent. Right? This is the reality of it. So eventually, what then happens is that they will now start asking questions that don't make no sense. And then we're all going to have to start questioning them, and then they're going to start being insulted, right? Or being insulted. And they'll say, it's a male driven industry, or people don't understand emotional intelligence, when in fact you're just not making any sense, right? Because you got no skill, you're using your talent. When if you knew that all you had was talent, you should have just kept quiet and let skillful people take the lead. Talented people are curious people who are bright individuals. Talented people can be very intelligent people. But because you're not systematic, you're not logical, you're not methodical, eventually your talent is going to let you down. Right? Eventually you're going to try something new and try something new and try something new, and then it's going to fail. Because some people, like myself, we want to know that you have a reliable process that not only can you follow and stick to, I can follow and stick to in your absence and track in terms of success. But if you're making it up as you go along because you're a bright individual, this is going to be problematic, right? And eventually people are going to ask why you ask so many questions and why you don't know, and why all your questions are not functional. Like, why are you always asking questions about like feelings or vibes or making connections or build rapport with your clients? The guy is here for 3 minutes buying a bottle of milk. How am I supposed to build a rapport with this guy? The best I can do is give him change and ask him to come again next time. They will always ask a question to learn. No, they don't. Some people will ask a question to prove you wrong, to prove that you have no talent, to prove that your method and system don't work. What talented people do, oh, this is what they do. They always insult school. So they'll say, I dropped out of school and I don't need school. I dropped out of university and I don't need school. My talent was enough, right? And then you say, well, who do you work with? Well, I work with a lawyer, I work with an accountant, I've got a dentist. It's like, wait a minute. So you dropped out of school just so you could surround yourself by all the people who didn't drop out of school? And you think that you're smart by paying people who stayed in school because you didn't stay in school. The only reason you're paying people to do basic economic tasks, to explain basic legal concepts to you, is because you didn't spend that extra semester in international political economies. And now you are surprised that we live in a globalized world. When your professor spent the entire semester teaching you about globalization and told you eventually the products are going to move all around the world. All we need is just a communication tool to make that possible. But the ships are ready, the trains are ready, the planes are ready, the products are ready, the shops are ready. All we need is to put the right mechanism in the people's hands so that they can order for themselves and we can deliver from anywhere. Does that sound familiar? This was something that they taught in international political economics. It was called globalization, and they taught it at university over 25 years ago, and you are living in it now. This is why you are confused about the economy, because you don't know what type of economy you are in. You are in a global economy. There are not many currencies. There are no nations. There are no worlds. There is one economic structure. And that economic structure is governed by laws and bylaws. Talented people don't understand that. They think that they can do what number 7 says. Talented people are extremely flexible, or they love flexibility, because flexibility allows their buffoonery to shine until your company collapses. Right? They don't want no stability. They want to be able to say, these are the kind of people who tell you that they can come in the office at 10 o'clock and leave at 7 o'clock, and then think that, I still did my 8 hours or whatever, come in at whatever time they can come in the morning and still think, well, I did my 8 hours. What difference does it make? It makes a huge difference. You don't just come in and go anytime that you want, and I'll explain to you why. Because the core business hours on this earth, where all the money is made on this planet, are between 9 and 4 o'clock, Monday to Friday. If you are not on the floor trading between 9 and 4 o'clock, Monday to Friday, you're not doing nothing. You come in at 10 o'clock, you're too late. You stay over 7, you stay over 4 o'clock, you're too late. You gotta be in the zone. You have to be in the zone. You cannot be flexible. Otherwise, you lose money, you lose opportunity, and you're inefficient. This is the ultimate consequence of flexibility and talent. Talented people want to accomplish their goals. Everyone does. It means they do everything to achieve it, almost. They will stay flexible. You see how vague that is? There's no specificity there with flexibility, and that is the problem. I'm going to achieve my goal. I'm up 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, daydreaming. Right? It's one thing to be asleep 3 o'clock in the middle of the night or in the morning and you're dreaming actual dreams and your brain is relaxing and sorting out your ideas and you are in REM sleep and so forth. But now you're just dreaming for dreaming, trying to be flexible when you should be asleep. Now you're going to be coming in at work at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning talking about, oh, I had an idea last night, when in fact, you're just an insomniac and you didn't go running and you should be asleep. You're just not tired enough. Flexibility is not something that I enjoy. I'm a person who sets standards. You set the standard and people maintain it. I'm only flexible in terms of there are three levels. There are those people who will achieve the standard first with few mistakes. There are those people who will achieve the standard later with a little bit more mistakes. And then there are those people who will achieve the standard last or not at all. These people will be jam-packed full of mistakes and incompetence. These are the three boxes of standards where you fit. Now, in the bottom tier, there are some people who might be able to rise all the way to the top. But these are people who follow the system all the way through and stick to it. Creative people, they fluctuate up and down, up and down, up and down with no consistency. But the ones who are skilled, who are experienced, who are talented, who are capable, and who work the system, right? So you can have talent and you can develop that talent into a skill by working a system. Those people are usually the best among us. When you have that talent and you turn that talent into a skill, you become astronomical. But if you're going to try and be flexible, man, you're just going to face problems. You're really going to you're going to face a lot of problems, which really, moves on to and is a perfect segue for number 8. Talented people are very comfortable with taking risks. Problems. Problems. Talented people are very comfortable with being reckless in problematic situations. So when they have a problem, they won't sort it out systematically and permanently. They will be risky, they will be dangerous, and they will be reckless, which is an absolute cause of failure. Recklessness, immaturity, all those things, a lack of discipline, all of that. These are all the results of failure. Yes, there's always a risk in things, there's always a risk in investments. I took a risk in real estate and found out that you can't ask poor people to pay anything, they don't got nothing. And I don't want people telling me, no, you have to invest in low cost income, housing, and blah, 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 blah. The fact is that even no matter how low you make the rent, if it's not cheap, if it's not free, it's too expensive for poor people. This is why governments just give grants. They just give them, they don't even ask them to work or nothing. They just give them the money. And there's people who will spend it and whatnot. They'll give them grants for food. They'll say, just buy some food, keep yourself alive. You know what I mean? At least you got something to eat. But they don't even ask them to work or nothing. They don't even ask them to pay or nothing. So if the government is giving things away for free to poor people, you think you're going to charge them a few thousand? You think you're going to drop the rent by 30%? It's going to make a difference? It is not going to make a difference. They're still not going to pay that rent. Of this, my friend, I can assure you. I took a calculated risk investing in talented people, and I regretted it. Talented, low cost income, poor people with a bright future and a lot of potential, who, if you believe in them, they can achieve anything. Yeah, forget those people. You can forget those people. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to achieve anything. If they were going to, they would be there already. If they were going to, they would be there already. Taking risk means a person wants to achieve something better and bigger. They always do. It's always the promise of something bigger and better. It's the dream. It's always about the dream with these people. It's always about living the dream, living the life, living the dream, the American dream. Oh, don't get me started on that nonsense. I was like, I've been talking about this dream thing all the time. And it was right there at the tip of my tongue. And I just wanted to say, one of these dreams, these fallacies is the American dream. That's something that no one has actually ever achieved. Right? They keep telling you the American dream, the American dream, the American dream. This is a reason for you to go out and buy things that you don't need, trying to achieve something that doesn't exist. Name one single person who ever felt like they lived the American dream. Rich people are still trying to achieve the American dream. Poor people are still trying to achieve the American dream. Americans are trying to achieve the American dream. No one is ever going to get this thing. It doesn't exist. It is a figment of your imagination, a delusion. It is part of the dream of talented people to think that I can, through talent and hard work, can achieve the American dream. It's a dream, it's a delusion. It's in the name itself, dream, which implies not reality. Generations of people are out there chasing something that doesn't exist. Just think about that. Something bigger, better, brighter than what reality is. And no, it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. You're taking a risk and you're just gonna ruin your life. We want women to play big in this life. Remember, this is from Women on Top, and that means taking risks. Oh, you shouldn't take risks. Yeah, you're gonna ruin your life. People may try to hold you back or dissuade you from being a risk taker. You see, and I'll come back to this. You might fear looking like an idiot or making mistakes. You see, I'm going to come back to this. And you may have gotten burned when something risky you didn't, tried in the past didn't work out. I'm going to break this all down for you in a meaningful way, right? So they want women to take risks. They want people to take risks. They want you to go for something bigger and better. Then they hit you with the disclaimers. First of all, people are going to try and hold you back and dissuade you from being a risk taker. So, in other words, people can see that you're not going to make it. And if you do make it, you're not going to last. And then it's going to be a catastrophe. You're over investing in something that's not going to yield results in the long term. And the issue isn't that you're living your dream. The issue is that you're going to live your dream for 18 months and you're going to be in destitution for 45 years following that 18 months. So for 18 months, you're going to pretend to be a star. You're going to pretend to be a great rapper. You're going to pretend to be a great podcaster. And then you're going to quit your job and you're going to turn the camera on and you're going to go shopping and do product reviews. And then you're going to end up broke making videos in your car. Right? Because people told you not to quit your job, but you told them they were haters. When in fact what they realized was you didn't do the numbers. That's number one. Number two, you took advice from people who themselves didn't do the numbers, and they lied. The numbers are $4,000 for 1 million hours, not 1 million views, not 1 million people clicked and then moved on to the next video. No, they watched your 2 hour show. You make a 2 hour video and people watch it 500,000 times. The full show from introduction to outro. 500,000 times, and for that you get $4,000 a year. You're not getting 1 million hours. You get 1 million streams, you get 1 million views, you get 20,000 likes, but they know good and damn well you are not pulling off 1 million hours of views. Anyone can fake 1 million streams. I can click on the same thing, just refresh, 1 million views. But 1 million hours? No way. And they are very specific about that. I looked at it and I said, these people didn't say a million views. They said 1 million hours. A year, you get $4,000. Think about that. Think about that. Those are Hollywood blockbuster numbers. If a Hollywood movie got 1 million hours a year at cinema, that movie would be the highest grossing movie in the history of cinema. It would shut down the whole industry. And you are expected to get that on this platform. They did that deliberately, knowing that you're not going to get anywhere near that. So why are you here? What is your message? What is your philosophy? What is your purpose? It better be a damn good one. Because people told you not to quit your job and you did it anyway, right? They told you that you're going to look dumb quitting your job to make content, right? They told you that it was going to be a big mistake and that you were going to get burned. And you did it anyway. And it's not going to work out, guys. I'm telling you, you're not going to get rich from streaming. You know, some people tell you that you can, and the only way you're going to do that is like through super chats. And maybe people will invite you for speaking engagements or that kind of thing. But why would they? Why would they pay you to come do some speaking event? Pay you 10 grand to speak on an issue that you could speak for free for online. Just think about that. Just think about that. Number 9, talented people bring passion. They always do. It's always about emotion, right? They do everything with passion. It's always about emotion, emotional intelligence, feeding. How do you feel? Give me your fire, right? Whatever it is that they do. It's never about system or structure or protocol or results. That's why a system is there. That's why people have systems and they have standards, because those systems yield results every single time. You're going to come in and be passionate, and that passion is always welcome, but it's unsustainable. This is why this is why people leave corporations and corporations continue to thrive. Because when your passion runs out, and it will, the system remains. If you want to remain, you need a system that works and achieves success. You got to say, I'm going to come in, I'm going to open with a monologue, I'm going to lay it down. I know there's some people that's only going to stay for the monologue, but then I'm going to hit them with the article every single time with that grounding information, whether I agree with it or not. There's somebody out there who's talented, who's going to think all these things are valuable. There's somebody out there who's looking for a person with talent, and they're going to look for somebody who takes risks, somebody who prioritizes results, somebody who's flexible but asks a smart question, somebody who can bring some passion and some confidence to the table, right? Somebody who's open about their versatility and their long-term goals. Somebody might be looking for that. I am not that person. I am not that person. I'm not looking for your goals. I would like to know what is your experience and what is your level of skills, and how I can match those skills with my outcome for repeated results. Man, I've seen look, I've had a few flukes in my life too, right? I've had some when I got into the industry with the corporation, right? And I've been through several corporations, different things, but more or less the same thing. You got to move from one corporation to another after several years in order to rise up in your rank, or at least to get more money for doing the same thing, right? So if you want some type of progress, you do got to move. You can move laterally to do the same thing for more money, or you can move up to do something more challenging, take on more responsibilities for more money, right? But this is not what talented people do. They bring passion. They don't have a system. They don't have a protocol, right? And there was a time when I entered the corporation, I thought that it was a fluke. I thought that I had hit a fluke. I had hit a luck. I couldn't believe where I landed, right? Then after a few years, I got an offer from another corporation. And then a few years thereafter, I got another offer where, in fact, I had stayed with these corporations for many, many years, right? It's not a few years, it was many, many years. Then eventually, I had ended a contract from one corporation, took the gap between that one corporation and the other, and then went ahead and got my vasectomy, and then returned to the corporation where I'm in now. That gap between the corporations and the vasectomy was very risky, right? That was a fluke, but that wasn't a fluke. It was a calculated risk. But I wouldn't have been able to do that move with the vasectomy, take that gap to get my vasectomy and freeze my sperm, if I had had the same inclination initially, where I thought, man, I really nailed this. This is a fluke. I want to keep this going. Let's keep this going. After a few years, I realized that I was in actually the right place with the right experience and the right skills. And not only that, that this skill was useful across many platforms, many places, many individuals, sometimes in different countries. Realizing this kept me grounded. When the contract ended with the one corporation and I wanted to do my vasectomy, they begged me to stay. And I don't mean that in like a braggadocious way. It became contentious. But I knew I had to do what I had to do. And I also knew that even though I liked the place and I could have made it work, I knew I wasn't coming back. I knew I wasn't coming back, right? But being able to get that vasectomy and leave that position, get the vasectomy, and then take the risk of starting again post vasectomy, I needed to know that the system was real, that I could leave the system and then return to the system at another point in time post vasectomy, right? And then start from there on new. I look at my life in two phases: pre vasectomy and post vasectomy. And while the post vasectomy life was very important to me, the pre vasectomy, the post vasectomy is going to be just as important, if not more. Perhaps this might be the one that I'm known for, or perhaps I'm still in transition. But it was knowing the system and that the system worked that allowed me to pursue a passionate endeavor. Otherwise, if I had just gone on passion alone, without the confidence of being able to return back and start earning again, to be able to say, you know what, I want to live that life, the bachelor's life, the travel, the resorts, the jet skis, the quad bikes, the walks on the beach, the exotic islands, the wonderful sunset, the fresh seafood, you name it. I wanted that life without the risk of pregnancy and insemination. And if I thought for a second that by blinking during this vasectomy gap, that I wouldn't have been able to return and then continued, oh, that passion, my passion that I have now for a vasectomy would have just been dragging me down. It would have been miserable. And it's the system that allows that, not the creativity, not the passion. And it's understanding the system where you can be creative with the system and get wonderful results. The final step, number 10, or the final point, number 10, talented people have good communication skills. They talk too much. They talk too much. Yes, I talk too, but this is what I was telling you about talented people. Talk all day about absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Communication skills means all you do is you talk. The important part of communication skills is, of course, listening, but that's not what they're talking about. Their only talent, these people, is to talk. What's more important than being someone who has good communication skills? Listen to that nonsense. How vague is this list? They don't even describe what good communication skills and what those are and what you need and how you can use them because you can't. It means that people are talking. And that's what people mean when they say talent, man. That's what people mean when they say talent. When somebody says, I'm the most talented podcaster, I'm the most gifted this, all he means is that he's going to talk you to death and make you listen to him for hours and hours, as I just did today, right? As I just did today. But in truth, I'm just uncovering for you what is really the one of the most kept secrets in the world, right? People won't tell you that, hey man, listen, all I do is come on here and talk and talk and talk. And really the priority is not to be informative, it's just not to have any dead air or any gaps like that. And as long as I can fill in that dead air and fill in those gaps, I might be able to have a show and then I don't have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, be in traffic, so I can be at work every day and earn some real money. That's really what it's about. People are hoping to be able to make a buck without having to make a buck. It's a scam, man. Talent is one of the biggest scams that you'll ever know. You know what I mean? People will tell you, oh, someone is talented. It means they have no skill, they have no experience, they have no training. And whatever it is that they're going to do, they're going to make it up on the spot. That's what it means. You should not be giving a talented person any serious attention, let alone your money. Try to get somebody who is informative, who's going to give you something to delineate, something to think about, even if you don't agree. Even if you can say, well, I disagree for this reason, I disagree for that reason, or whatever your reasons are for disagreeing. But at least the brain is working. At least the mind is working. At least you have something that you can say, you know what, I have a point to discuss. I have a unique point of view. I have something that I don't agree with over here and over there. But if you are just relying on your talent, hey, everyone, look at my face. I'm going to tell you something about me. And then eventually what you're going to do is start telling us what kind of man you want and what's wrong with these counterparts. Oh, these counterparts did this. Oh, these counterparts did that. Yes, of course they did. That's what counterparts do. This and that. And they'll do this and that simultaneously. So in my opinion, find yourself a system that works. And I have a system that works here on this platform. That system is to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. You do this, it'll make you richer. You do this, it'll make you more secure. You freeze your sperm, you get a vasectomy, I guarantee you peace of mind. But if you honestly think you're going to go out into this world and use your talent to be intimate with these counterparts and avoid having kids, I'm here to tell you you're going to destroy your life. What you're going to find is that your talent can work briefly for a moment or two here and there, but in the end, it's going to let you down and destroy you. Right? We've seen careers, online careers shoot up and then come crashing down. We've seen celebrities shoot up and come crashing down. We've seen people who thought that they were cute and pretty, lose everything just because somebody was cuter and deemed prettier. Right? There's many reasons for talent to fail you, but if you have a real system that works, if you have skills that are reliable, acquired through time, through the proper institutions, earned, certified, that will allow you to gain professional experience and earn real money, you're going to win in the end. How can this system be unbeatable? How can this system be beatable? You have skills, you have experience, you have an industry, and that industry is functional and viable, which means you can always earn money and increase your earning money or your earnings the longer you stay, the more experience you have. Whereas if you have talent, you cannot compare the talent of a person at 18 and then compare that same talent at 25 and then compare that same talent at 38 and say, man, this person is still as talented at 38, at 48 as he was at 18 or 19. No way. especially if your talent involves a physical activity or some physical labor. Mental ability, no problem. We get smarter, we read more, we have more experience, and we can talk of our mental ability. But physical talent, especially, is going to let you down. And even mental ability can only be expressed in one way, and that's going to be through talking. So, one thing that I want to leave you with at the end of this conversation is that whatever people call talent, what is associate an action with that talent, and what you're going to see is that it's only one action and it's the same action, and everybody performs that action on every platform of every kind, from news to radio to TV to online to podcasting. All they do is talk and they call it talent. This is misleading. This is misleading. Talk show hosts. What do you think talk show hosts is? They made an entire genre of entertainment just based on people coming together and just talking about nothing. And they call it talent. These people make millions of dollars saying absolutely nothing. And you call them talented. If you remove the word talent and replace it with rudimentary skills, you would realize exactly how useless, incompetent these so-called talented people are. These so-called, I don't need a degree. Yes, you do. Oh, you need a degree so badly. Oh man, you should have never dropped out of university. Those of you who dropped out of university, oh, I hope this economy crushes you for your incompetence. If you thought you were gonna, pull it off with talent and skill, I'm young, I'm green, I'm talented. No, you have 18 years of child support and 21 years. But yeah, speak to them, speak to the fertility clinic, speak to your urologist, and I assure you they will be able to help you. Speak to your medical insurance, and they'll give you all the information that you need. This is the end of the video. Thank you again for your time, your patience, your understanding, and I appreciate that very, very much, and I always will. Please, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and support the channel. It really does help the channel to grow. I didn't think it did, but it actually does make a difference. You get a like, for some reason, the next video gets more views. Right? The video where there's a like, the next video gets a few more views. It actually does work. I didn't think it did, but I noticed that pattern. And I'm going to try and see if I notice any other patterns. But please, if you have enjoyed this content and you found it informative, that's really what I'm hoping for, is to be informative. I'm hoping to be entertaining too, but I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to pull that off for very long. Please share this with a friend who thinks they're talented and doesn't appreciate what being systematic, being educated or skilled and experienced means. I'm sure they can benefit from this type of insight. And also please leave a comment to remain part of the conversation. Lately, something weird is happening with my comments. Like I'm just getting comments from like previous comments, and I'm not able to see what's happening. Maybe I did something, maybe I didn't do something. But once that comes right, I'm just gonna keep responding to all the comments. I can see that the videos are getting likes and comments, but I'm just not able to access and view them, which is weird, right? I think that's weird, but I'm not gonna call it any conspiracy theory. I'm just gonna assume that I did something, even though I know I didn't do nothing. But yeah, please leave a comment to remain part of the conversation. As soon as I fix this issue, I'll be right back inside those comments, and we can have a meaningful discussion. I'm the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, and I'd like to thank you once again and say to you, please get yourself that vasectomy, freeze your sperm, protect yourself, protect your solitude, and protect your seed. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day.